I left my record deal and completely started over. Yeah, here we go.
That pretty hit different when it's Cali. Life is better when it's Cali. Can bring no negative energy in this party. Cause we godly, yeah, we godly.
Honestly, I thought it was the beginning of everything, and in a lot of ways it was, but not in a way that I thought it would be, and definitely not in the way that I expected it to be. So, first off, I wasn't the type of artist that was intentionally trying to be signed and have the machine behind me. As you know, with a lot of artists, like that is a goal, and there's nothing wrong with that. That just wasn't something that I was like, that wasn't the ultimate goal. That wasn't like the main thing that I was trying to achieve. I had gotten content with being independent, but after I had built my music career to a certain point, I was three projects in, two EPs, and an album. I was presented an opportunity by someone that I trusted. Naturally, I'm like, okay, well, this just makes sense. Everything in my life was lining up in a certain way, and I'm like, okay, this just seems like the right thing to do at this moment. And that's what I did. With this experience, with this journey, with this record deal, I moved from Georgia to New York. And at the start of it all, like everything moved so quickly. I was in the studio most of the week, but every single day, like I pretty much was doing something musically. And for me, like that was everything. Like it's what I love to do. It's something that God created me to do. So, I was just living a dream, honestly. By the end of this experience, I'd created 3 to 4 albums worth of music, and I mean like full albums. So I was working, okay? I was working a lot. It was exciting, it felt like all this work that I'd been putting into my music, it paid off. Like I have always known how to sing. My mom tells me that she taught me how to sing when I was a baby. So music was something that always was a part of me, being born into a musical family. And of course, like as a kid, you're trying to figure out like what it is that you want to do when you grow up. For me in high school, I got to see hands-on what it'd really be like to be an artist. And with that experience, I was just like, yeah, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I was in chorus pretty much in like every school I was in. In my high school's choral department, we had, I think it was fall and winter concerts where my choral teacher would allow us to put on performances. Of course, it had to be appropriate for school, but we were able to have like the freedom of putting on the performances that we wanted to. So I went full out. Like I remember doing Beyonce's Crazy in Love. I remember doing Justin Timberlake's Suit and Tie. There were a couple other songs that I did, but I really went all out with my performances. It was my first time of where I got to discover like what it would look like being a performer. It was like really exciting for me. I even performed for my school's pep rally, which had never been done before at my school. It was a whole medley of songs that I performed. And I have a clip of where you literally hear the whole gymnasium like singing along. And it's like, oh my gosh, like even at my high school's graduation, I performed Conqueror from Empire. I was like, this is what I want to do. This feeling that I have is like, there's nothing that can compare to this. So, with those experiences in my high school, like, by the time I graduated, I knew without a doubt that music is what I wanted to do. So to bring it back to the current time with the record deal, it just felt like, wow, like I really have worked hard for this. And it mattered more to me for a few different reasons. I had gotten diagnosed with a blood disorder called aplastic anemia. That was in 2016. That was the reason why I wasn't able to go to my dream school at the time, Berklee College of Music. I'd been accepted into, and I found out on Mother's Day. It was very unfortunate I wasn't able to go there. But after I recovered from that, after God healed me and healed my body, I dropped my first single in 2019. From there, that was a long journey of, in hindsight, I can recognize how I lost my way. The type of artist that I was before was not who I am today. I didn't have a clean image. What I would write about, the explicit lyrics, how I would choose to dress on stage and, in my personal life and, just on a day to day, it's completely different than who I am today. Everything that happened with the record deal, in hindsight, it was what I needed because I had to be redirected and God had to bring me to the core of like who he really created me to be. So after everything is going so fast paced, I'm in the studio, and before I knew it, I was meeting with the stylist. I was getting my hair done and makeup and everything for the photo shoot that I had for my packaging to be released. We had a set date for me to be released, and before I knew it, that date kept being pushed. I look up and it's on pause. With things being on pause in my career, on the other side of it, in my personal life and my faith walk, that got stronger in the sense of I now had the responsibility to lead worship. And I've done it before, but not in this capacity where it was consistent and where like I had to bear the responsibility so often. And for me, I'm like, okay, especially seeing my mom lead worship pretty much all my life, I know what that looks like and I know the weight that it brings. So it wasn't something that I ever took lightly. And more than anything, more than me sounding good, more than me performing well, I wanted to please God. But the difficult part about it in my faith walk was when things in my music career came to a pause. I was left with more questions than answers because I remember being very depressed during this time, but still having the responsibility of leading worship and encouraging people and leading people into praise and worship. Like, that's difficult. For me, it was just a very depressing time because it was the first time in my life where I seriously considered giving up music. I basically made the decision that, you know what, I want to fulfill my contractual obligations in this record deal and I'll be done with it. That's the point that I got to. I felt like music was breaking my heart more than it was making me happy, although it's my first love. While things are still on pause in my music career, and I'm now trying to figure out who I am without music, I'm trying to tap into other passions. Even that was depressing because I'm just like, man, I don't love anything like I love music outside of God. You know what I'm saying? I don't love anything like I love music. Especially after not having music for a certain amount of time, it just means something different to me. And then with this journey, that added another layer onto just truly how much it means to me. So with all of that, I remember one day I was listening to this Christian song and I was just like, I kind of see myself like doing something like this. That thought made sense because I'd gone through so much personal transformation. I remember asking my mom, I was like, could you see me like singing a song like this? I sent her the song. She was like, yeah. And that's what led me to wanting to write gospel. And that brings me to where I am today. God provided a way out for me to be able to leave that record deal. When I tell you, He made a way out of no way for me to leave that record deal because my heart wasn't in it. And my producer, he even recognized that, and it's just crazy that God did such a work in me that even someone who was not a part of the faith could tell that I was different. I no longer could be the artist that I signed to be. God provided a way for me to get out of that record deal without owing anything. When I tell you He is a miracle worker, He provided a way for me to get out of that record deal without owing a dime. 2 months later, I released my first single in this new lane that I'm in. It's called Better. I released that a day before my birthday, October 17th of last year, 2025. After that, I released my second single, which is also gospel, called Do It. That was released March of this year. After that, I released my first EP in this new lane. I titled it Invisible. I wanted to title it that because typically common for gospel and R&B to live in the same place. And I don't mean musically. I mean in a sense of what's being said, the message, the lyrics. This time around, I want it to be clear that my faith in Christ is the foundation of everything that I do. I wanted to come out like, hey, like I'm a church girl down. That's who I will always be. That's something I do not play about, okay? And I wanted that to be represented in my music. Also, I make R&B. I'm R&B to my core. Both are me. That's who I am. I write about my faith. I write about life. I write about feelings, relationships, healing, everything in between. But I do it in a way that is clean, in a way that can be received by so many different people in different stages of life. That's who I am. So allow me to reintroduce myself. I'm Diamond. I'm Diamond Imani. I'm an artist, a singer, songwriter, performer, dancer. I've started completely over, but not from scratch. I am taking everything that I learned my first go round, but I'm doing it differently this time. And I want to say welcome. Welcome if you're new here. Thank you so much. If you have already been here and you've been supporting me on my journey, if you've already been here since Better, since Do It, since my EP, and I got some new music coming up. Actually, the new single that I'll be releasing, you hear that in the intro. I'm so excited to share this new music and to go into like this new, era now that I've established, who I am now and who Diamond Imani is. Make sure that you stay tuned for all the new episodes of the Diamond Cut exclusively here on YouTube, just for y'all. Okay, I think that's about it. I think that wraps up the first episode. I'm so excited for everything. But thank you so much for watching, and until next time.
That pretty hit different when it's Cali. Life is better when it's Cali.